Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Russian grammar. So, we're going to discuss consonant alteration today. Um, After the first episode about the orthography, I think that you have a like a primitive um, perception on what's going on Russian grammar. And so today let's going to discuss um, a more grammatical topic that is about consonant, and it's called consonant alternation, which is a prevalent and common topic to be discussed in Russian grammar because you can see that literally everywhere, mm, from verbs to adjectives or from nouns to adverbs. You could see um, consonant alternations play a subtle role, uh, plays a subtle role on changing the forms and the stems of the words. Uh, yeah, so let's get started. So, first thing first, before we get into talk about consonant alternation, let's clarify ourselves and know what are consonants. So, consonants, Russian consonants. Russian consonants are the 20 letters of the 33 letters in the Russian alphabet that represent the sounds, um, at least partially obstruct the breath, and the letters that are usually combined with a vowel to form a syllable. Um, like uh, to be clear, give some examples. Um, the following green letters, consonants. These green letters are consonant, namely b, v, g, d, j, z, k, l, m, n, p, r, s, t, f, g, c, ch, sh, and sh. Um, yeah, so you need to know that there are 20 consonants in Russian, um, and it resembles the sound that humans could make. And yeah, some of them resemble the Latin alphabet that um, the uh, like languages like English or French are using, and while the other are based on Greek alphabet. Yeah, you can see. Um, because I expect you to know, to at least recognize these letters. I assume that you could read Cyrillic text well, and you could identify this letter seamlessly and immediately, or quickly, at least quickly. Uh, so yeah, this slide is a basic concept of consonant that it forms a specific sound alongside with a vowel. Yeah. And so let's look at the definition. What is a consonant alternation? So alternation, um, inferring from the name, alternation means change. Alternation means change, or at least a progressive change, one by one, or with a specific pattern. That means you change with a specific uh, or logical pattern as um, the pattern or the motif goes. So consonant alternation refers to the alternation. Consonant alternation refers to the alternation of the consonants at the end of the word when forming grammatical functions such as verb conjugations, or otherwise, for example, forming new words. Like uh, you'll be learning that later, but you need to know that Russians like to create new words, especially for verbs. Um, based on prefixes or suffixes to form um, like a clarified or detailed version of a specific verb, um, or to express nuances. Like you could take an analogy, as in English, to form phrasal verbs uh, by adding uh, prepositions after the verb, but in Russian, they use suffixes, prefixes, binding together. So, um, consonant alternation ultimately is to um, make the pronunciation easier when like forming new words or verb conjugations, because ultimately verb conjugation is forming a new verb by expressing who the aspect, the tense, or the subject that do the verb. Like although it's not a significant word formation, but um, you could regard verb conjugation as a way to form um, nuanced words, because the meaning of two differently conjugated verbs change, either by its tense or by its aspect or whatever. So ultimately, consonant alternation is about uh, forming new words, and it exists because you know, when Russians form new words, um, the two the two um, different morphemes that connects together, the two different words that connects together, um, should be like smooth, and to achieve this kind of smoothness or seamlessness, some sounds um, must have been made in order to retain the um, articulation or the uh, smoothness when pronouncing the verb, or um, to to have a seamless transition between this this part and the other part, something like that. Yeah, so consonant alternation exists because um, you could uh, learn that after extensive reading and learning and acquisition, you could learn that possibly um, the exceptions in consonant alternation is for convenience, like um, how you think that it's easy to pronounce, um, then it's written in that way. Yeah. So regularity of consonant alternation. Yeah. Most consonant alternations in Russian are regular. What do I mean? I mean that you could find you could seek a pattern, uh, which we'll be talking later in this video. You could seek a pattern from the patterns we're going to talk about. Um, that when you spot a possibly consonant alternated word in Russian, especially when you are reading new text or you are uh, remembering new words. Yeah, and then this implies that there are few exceptions for consonant alternations. Yeah, so exceptions do exist, but there are like fewer compared to um, declension or conjugations, which we'll be talking about later. So memorizing the common ones, the common patterns will do, and then remembering the common patterns of consonant alternation uh, could possibly bring you several benefits and advantages, including to be able to grasp the variations of a certain word more quickly. Yeah, because you could infer it through consonant alternation plus a specific suffix or a specific set of rules. And you could also possibly guess the original word of a derived word particularly for unfamiliar words more quickly, and it makes your learning journey of the Russian language more convenient and effective. Yeah. It's same for the orthography that we have just discussed in the last video, that it alters the spelling or the rules of some words in Russian, and it brings auditorial pronunciation wise convenience. And so consonant alternation exists, as I've just said. And so let's look at some common patterns of consonant alternation. Well, at this point, you have to notice that um, the common patterns, I used the adjective common. That means should be uncommon patterns, and those are known as exceptions, as discussed. And you should also be reminded that the patterns are not omnipotent. Um, in some words, um, the declension or the variation of the words might not be following the rules of consonant alternations in Russian, so you have to be mindful for that. Yeah, but I think that you guys could all be aware of these kind of exceptions when your learning journey in Russian progresses. Yeah, so 15 patterns. The first one is switching the to zhe. So this is regarded as in one-to-one. That means the correspondence of one alphabet to the another alphabet. Yeah, that kind of consonant alternation. Like it changes the to zhe. Uh, okay, examples include all these are verb conjugation. You see, consonant alternation is prevalent, especially in verb conjugations. Like we change from infinitive, like to do, to first person singular present, like I do. Mm, the present tense, a simple present tense, of course. So first one, vozit, vozit. That means to carry, becomes vожу. That means I carry, I carry. Связать becomes свяжу. That means to tie up, to bind. And it changes to I tie up or I bind. Yeah, and then abuse it. This one is clear because you see the English borrowing abuse. That means to abuse, and it changes to abuse. That means I abuse. Well, it's not a good thing, but it's just a demonstration. Um, don't take this context, please. Like, um, back to the topic, you can see that the the here switch to je, and the the here switches to je. Same rule, the here switches to je. How about the second pattern? It's switching from s to she, s to she. Also, one to one, one alphabet to another. Example includes also verb conjugations. Pisat, well, this is a common one. To write. Pishu, pishu, meaning I write. Yeah, this is a common one. Pisat, to pishu. Gasit, to extinguish, to put out a fire, becomes gashu, gashu. Prosit, prosit means to ask, and it changes to proshu, proshu, meaning I ask. So you can see s changes to sh, s changes to sh, and s in prosit changes to sh in proshu. Third one, t to ch, t to ch, t to ch. 1-to-1 again, and then examples, same format. Platit, platit, meaning to pay for something, becomes plachu. I pay, plachu, platit, plachu. Piatit, meaning to push back, becomes piaciu, piaciu, piatit, piaciu. To boil, kipiatit, kipiatit, becomes kipiachu, kipiachu. So you can see that T becomes ch, T becomes ch, T becomes ch. Uh, this is the third pattern, and let's get to the fourth pattern. It's the to ja, the to ja. So we've just seen that we're changing um, g, to ja, or z to ja. Why we're doing that? Because in Russian, like for example, the uh, z to ja uh, is a pair of consonant alternation, and so does the to ja. So eventually they become ja, but initially the alphabet is the um, letter is different, so it's a tricky point. It needs extensive acquisition of the language so you can differentiate which pairs up to which because it's different. Um, like these phenomenon is common in Russian grammar. Multiple thing um, um, eventually reaches to a single thing. Um, like mathematically spoken, this is the domains of the functions um, result in a single um, output of a function. So um, this function is not reversible because, like you can't pair up this one to this um, reversely. So yeah, this is a tricky point. You need to get used to it. This is Russian grammar. 1-to-1 again, because one letter, obviously. Examples include same format. Rodice, rodice becomes rojus, rojus, rojus. Rodice becomes rojus, meaning to be born, or I am born. I was born anyway. I am born. I was born. Uh, yeah, same meaning. Видеть, видеть, meaning to see, becomes visual, visual, meaning I see, I see. Глядеть, глядеть, meaning to look after, to take care of, becomes гляжу, гляжу. I look after, I take care of something. So you can see the these becomes jazz here. Yeah, so it's the fourth pattern. The fifth pattern, 喝 to 喝 喝 to 喝. Yeah, 喝 to 喝. Now it might be a little bit confusing why these two apparently unrelated alphabets could turn to consonant alternations. The answer is um, I don't know either, but um, it's strange that when you apply consonant alternations to actual pronunciation, especially with a long, super long word, um, it is smooth and it doesn't get stuck. It didn't get stuck. It's amazing. So 1-to-1, Latusha. Examples include ucha, ucha. This is a singular nominative neutral noun, meaning year, and after the alternation, it becomes ushi, ushi. The sh here, changes, becomes plural nominative neutral noun. Ears. You can see plural particle here, plural marker here. Ears. Like, yeah, uge, ushi. Bechat. This is the infinitive of the verb to wave. Becomes mashu. Same format, meaning I wave. Bechat, mashu. Tichi. Singular nominative masculine adjective quiet. Quiet. Tichi becomes tishe, meaning quieter is a comparative adjective. Tishe, tichi, tishe. You can see that the hs becomes shes here. Yeah, they alternate. Sixth, k to cha, k to cha, k to cha. One to one. Examples: Wiek, meaning century, singular nominative masculine noun, century, and it changed to wieczny for its relative adjective. Relative adjective means it's relative words that describe uh, something, especially describe a noun, or you could change it to adverb if you wish to, especially if you don't want to use the cases, which all of them you don't need to remember it for now. We'll be discussing it later, but um, you just need to realize that there are such a thing in the world called relative adjective in Russian. So Viek means century, and Viechny means eternal, which is relatable because a century is a long period of time. It's really long, um, 100 years. It's super long, so it could almost stand for eternal. Ruka, ruka, singular nominative, feminine noun for hand, uh, becomes ruchny. Again, relative adjective, manual. This one is uh, adjective. This one is the relative adjective for hand. Manual, not uh, not as in instruction manual, but as in manual washing. Yeah, it's a modifier for noun. Manual is Latin borrowing for hand for English. If we consider relation between the two, ruka, ruchnoi, ruka, ruchnoi. See, yaku, yaku, singular masculine, past tense for baked, baked becomes pitch. This is the infinitive to bake. You see, these three letters alters alters to become ch. G to ja. Seventh. G to ja. One to one again. One to one. Examples include legat, that is to lie, becomes le jour. This is the second person singular present line. Now things go interesting here because in English we don't have a pronoun for second person singular, but you just need to remember that this one is specifically for a a root version or the more commonly a singular address of uh, you. Yeah, the singular version of you. Um, or you could refer to God according to Russian grammar, which we'll be discussing later in the chapters of pronouns. Um, if you study for Old English, if you study Old English, you could notice that this one is thou, or if you study Shakespeare in English, you could notice that this one is thou, thou liest, something like that. But for uh, normal people, you just need to remember that this one stands for you lie, as in singular version of you. Le gars, to lie. Yeah, le gars, le George. Kniga, kniga. Singular nominative feminine noun book becomes knижный, knижный. Again, relative adjective of kniga, meaning bookish, in its singular nominative masculine form. Knижный, kniga. Двигать, infinitive, becomes движу. First person singular present to move. Движу, двигать, движу. You can see that all the gs change to zs here. Pattern 8. C to ch, c to ch. One to one, again, and then examples. Птица, птица. Singular nominative feminine noun, bird, and it becomes птичий. Птичий is a relative adjective, singular nominative masculine for avian or bird related stuff, because avian is again a Latin borrowing to English for birds. Yeah, so птица corresponds to птичий, птичий. Лица, лица, singular nominative neutral noun for a person, and it becomes личный, личный. Again, relative adjective. It's singular nominative masculine form for personal, person, personal, person, personal. Лицо, личный, лицо, личный. Палец, finger, singular nominative masculine noun, becomes пальчик, 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 палец, пальчик. You can see that the E disappears into this мягкий знак, the soft sign, which is vowel alternation, which is not consonant alternation, but it's another alternation, which we'll be discussing it later. But for now, just focus on it. Ts, the alternations of ts turning to chs, like these kind of consonant alternation, means little finger. Now, this one, the part of speech also gets interesting because this Polchik is a diminutive noun, meaning that to deliberately to call something smaller than it was, or to express adorableness or cuteness or um, belittlement or something like that. So you just remember that anything, especially nouns ended with chick or tionok, knock, something like that, are diminutive nouns called little something, little finger, little finger. Notice that this little finger um it does not mean the fifth finger of your hand. It is not a specific noun for that. It's just a general concept that referring the finger is little. So it's the tricky part of Russian because there are so many kind of nuances here for you to remember, but it is also very systematic. You see that chick or ok, nyok is kind of a diminutive noun. Diminutive noun. I'll use the dim notation as an abbreviation. So the ninth pattern is to share. Now things get interesting here because it's the 2-to-1 consonant alternation. What do I mean by 2-to-1 is that it involves a diagram st, and it is and it is only effective for this kind of consonant alternation when it's together, like st together. So it's kind of a 2-to-1 consonant alternation. Yeah, uh, different from 1-to-1 consonant alternation. This time is two letters converting to one letters. Before you could see that um, we could see this kind of uh, one letters to one letters correspondence. This one is two letter to one letter correspondence. Now, oops, there's some problem with the slide. Anyway, I can show it at one time. You can see that zamiestic. You see st becomes zamieshu to substitute for I replace for zamiestit, zamieshu. Чистить to clean becomes чищу, I clean. Постить to post, like uh becomes пошу. Like this one is an internet slang that isn't standardized, but it means to post um on the internet, for example, an Instagram reel, as stated. Постить, uh, пошу, Um, yeah, and it has archaic use. This word uh, is originally an archaic verb to observe a fast. Is it observe a fast? Sorry if I'm incorrect, but remember that it's observe a fast and yeah, to abide the customs. But it is archaic now, and it's almost nobody use it. Uh, Nowadays, Russians use this verb for describing the actions of posting something onto the web. Yeah, hostit, and becomes pursue. Okay, as you can see that the st all switches to shis, the sh here. Yeah. Okay, the 10th pattern. SK to sh, SK to sh. Again, to the one, sk, sk to sh. Is got, is got, issue, is got to find, issue, I find, obiscuit becomes obiscu. Now, obiscuit meaning to look up, like this one is a derived verb from iscat. As mentioned, consonant alternations help to find to identify the derived verb more quickly, because you could identify that, oh, when sk is alternated to sh, I could immediately recognize that this part should be a morpheme for iscat to find. Yeah. Lastly, pliskat, to splash, to splash. Pliskat voodoo, to splash water, something like that. Pliskat becomes pleshu. Pliskat becomes pleshu. Yeah, as you can see, sk becomes sh. Sk becomes sh. Yeah, and then the 11th, but to blah. Now, things again get interesting here, because this is regarded as a labial consonant alternation, which inserts an L into the into the word. Labial is an adjective for words that are pronounced with the tongue uh, uh, tipping to the top, to the upper part of your teeth, like uh, the L one, le, where the action that you perform when you pronounce the uh, L containing words, like labial, la, like this word itself is a good demonstration, and it has a L and it's the labial. Just take it to the top. You take your tongue to the top of your teeth, and you make a sound la. So why I say it's labial, because it inserts an L that is a labial alphabet, sorry, pardon, labial letter into into the um after the letter. Now, with conjugations, verbs to have turned on. Like this one is the, well, sorry, oops. This one, verbs, is the passive, is the no, not passive, sorry, is the perfect aspect uh of verbs or verbs. So verbs to have turned on. Uh, so you need to have the word have here, because you need to indicate that it's um, perfect, and it becomes verblu. I have turned on verblu, verblu. Lubit, um, famous word to laugh, becomes le bleu. I love le bleu, tibia. I love you, something like that. Gubits, gubits to ruin, gubits to ruin becomes gublu. I ruin. Well, again, derogatory word for demonstration only. So you can see that anyway. B becomes bleh. You see that? And L is inserted here, right here, right after B. Okay, 12. Pa to pla. Same logic, because don't you notice that after inserting um, an L, um, everything goes smoother, and you can pronounce the plu plu um, smoother and more seamlessly um, as compared to pew pew something like that. So yeah, this is a Russian characteristic. Okay, labial again. Stupid, to tread, to step on something becomes stuplu, stuplu. Kipiet, to boil on becomes kiplu, I boil on. Terpiet, terpiet becomes terplu, to tolerate. This one, terpiet, is to tolerate, and terplu means I tolerate something. Yeah. 13. V to vl, same logic. Um, um, it's actually a characteristic because whenever you have verb conjugations involving um, the lips, the lips like pa, ba, va, you all pronounce this using your lips, so it's um, easily gets a consonant alternation because it's far easier to pronounce, adding a kind of lubricant here before a vowel. Then you feel that. So yeah, just remember that. Examples include Bulagoslovit. Well, you see this word probably on Russian Bible because this word essentially means to bless something. Bulagoslovlyu, Bulagoslovlyu, meaning I bless something. Well, this is inappropriate, but um, not that inappropriate, but um, far less common. Because usually it's the um, God or the Pope to bless the others. So use the third person singular person. Благословит, благословит. But again, this you don't need to remember this. Just need to know what is consonant alternation as for this episode. Anyway, готовить becomes готовлю, to prepare. Готовить to prepare. Готовлю, I prepare. Вдавить, вдавить, to press into, becomes вдавлю, вдавлю, I press into. Okay, 14th. F becomes fl. F becomes fl. As you can see, you use your tongue to pronounce the F sound here, f. So it's labial. You insert an L. Graphite, to graph, becomes graflu, graflu. Drive it, drive it, to drift or to quill to waste, if you interpret in another way, becomes drivlu. I drift, I waste, I quill. Drive it, drivlu. Olive it becomes olivlu, to base in linseed oil. Notice that it isn't olive oil, although it sounds similar. Um, yeah, olive it, olivlu, olive it, olivlu. Yeah, the last pattern, M to ml, ml, labial again. Examples: economics, to economize, to save, essentially to save money or to save time, becomes economiou, mostly money, because the it's a Greek borrowing economy. Econo is a prefix for uh, monetary or economic things, because Russians use this verb to express the economization of money, yeah, of capitals or somewhat. anyway, economy. Sorry, economics becomes economlu. Skormits becomes skormlu. Skormlu. To have fed. Again, this one is um the perfect aspect of kormit. So by adding vs, you need to emphasize the perfect aspect. So you add have here. Uh, yeah, and then lomit to ache or to hurt. No, to ache actually is a um, non-personal verb, which will be explained later. Um, to ache or to broke your arm or your feet or something. Lomit becomes lomlu. Again, you see that the m's turns into ml here. Note on exceptions. Note on exceptions. Well, you've seen enough. You've seen 15 um, patterns, and we use 40 minutes to explain that. Um, it isn't fair uh, to not introduce any tips or tricks on exceptions, particularly for Russians, because it's an exception-bound language of its grammar. In Russian grammar, exceptions are inevitable, so are in consonant alternations. Some um, might have virtually no exceptions, like um, fits, fits or mit verbs. When you see this kind of leaps using verbs or labial, these verbs, when you conjugate to first person singular present, you could like almost immediately, without thinking, add an L after the letters, the verb or M, um, as a role. Um, yeah, or well, some are merely individual cases like iskat and its derived verbs like obiskat, in the pattern of changing sk to sh. So it really requires extensive learning and acquisition on the um, Russian knowledge, um, especially especially for a whole immersion in the language environment is desired. Yeah, yeah, I know that most of you don't have a that kind of environment as a foreign language learner, but yeah, you could um, possibly have it um, by reading or by accumulating new words or remembering common exceptions. Well, there's a last tips for you. In most cases, as mentioned, well, it's not a tip, but it do reminds you, do helps you. Uh, it reads, in most cases, consonant alternations happen in verb conjugations. Remember verb conjugations and the conversions of nouns to adjectives. So you see the relative adjectives part. You see litsa to lichny, ruka to ruchny, something like that. Kniga to knizhny. You see that it's very common because yeah, you could encounter this kind of relative adjective things far more common in Russian than in English. So you need to get used to this kind of environment. Yeah, and so finally, let's step to the conclusion. Today we have learned what is consonant alternation and the 15 major patterns in it, and a trick to quickly notice a consonant alternation. Um, Thank you all for listening here. We've spent a wonderful 3 quarters. We've spent wonderful 3 quarters, and to help you enjoy this episode, um, I hope you to see you next time. Thank you.